I'd like to call this meeting of the Anchorage Assembly to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Dembowski?
Present.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Mr. Starr?
Here.
Mr. Flynn?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Present.
Ms. Gray Jackson?
Honored to be here.
Ms. Johnston? Here. Mr. Honeman? Mr. Honeman?
I'm present by phone.
Mr. Trainee?
Here.
Mr. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
We have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Starr, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Here.
Mr. Vacalis, do you have a mayor's report for us this evening?
Thank you so much, sir. There is no mayor's report, and the mayor will be absent this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vacalis. For the chair's report, real briefly, when we get to Ms. Dembowski, we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up in the Eberhard versus MOA litigation, or quasi-litigation, and we'll be taking up some disclosures under special orders to ensure we're complying with municipal code. With that, we'll move into committee reports. Mr. Hall?
No report.
Let's see. I'm trying to remember who's where. Mr. Steele?
And no report.
Mr. Evans? No. Mr. Trainee?
Nothing, sir.
Ms. Gray Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay. The Audit Committee met on Friday, May 2nd, to review the Internal Audit Report 2014-12, Accounts Payable and Finance Department. We had a really, really excellent meeting. What we did was review the auditor's findings and recommendations, Mr. Rascom. And the major issues that we discussed was, frankly, invoices not being paid timely, due in part to invoices not being sent to the correct department, and invoices that weren't entered into PeopleSoft in a timely manner. What we concluded is that we would ask the purchasing director to work with vendors to ensure that when they send us invoices, they include the department name on the invoices in order for payments to occur more timely. And then the municipal manager is going to enforce with his managers the importance of making sure that invoices are paid on time. The controller stated that there's going to be some training on the accounts payable process and when the implementation of SAP occurs, but the committee members encouraged the controller not to wait for the implementation of SAP, but to talk to employees and have training done immediately, especially considering the fact that turnover of new employees is relevant and new employers are being hired. So we need to talk to employees now. I have to say I was honored to be the chair of the Audit Committee for quite a few years, I think almost 5. And it was an honor to work with Mr. Raskin. His department does a wonderful, wonderful job doing audits of the municipality, within the municipality, and outside the municipality. And I'm pleased that I'm going to be turning over the reins to Mr. Starr, and I'm sure that he's going to enjoy being the chair of the committee as much as I did. With that said, I'm now the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, and I just want to tell the committee members, since we're all here together, is that we're going to meet monthly. In 2009, I put together a work plan for the Budget Committee, and what I'm going to be doing is asking the clerk to send a copy of this to all of the Budget and Finance Committee members so that you can review this and give me some of your recommendations, because our first meeting is going to be to work on our work plan so that we have a document to deal with as we meet monthly. And hopefully, if we don't meet later this month, we'll have our first meeting in June. And let me go back really quick, Mr. Chairman, to the Audit Committee. I forgot one other thing. The committee also reviewed the audit plan revision due to the fire department payroll grievance settlement, and the internal auditor is going to update the plan for approval by the Assembly and the Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Gray Jackson. I would note, I believe we were short one volunteer for the Audit Committee, so if anybody wants to join Mr. Starr in that committee, please let me know. We can make that happen. Ms. Dembowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, Mr. Chairman, I would like to start with my typical disclosures before we launch into the other. Mr. Chair, per prior disclosure and ruling, I am without conflict to participate on tonight's items 11E regarding collective bargaining guidelines and 14F relating to AFD's health and fitness program. New items 9F12 is an appropriation to the Anchorage Fire Service Area Capital Improvement Program Fund, and item 9F13 relates to area-wide public safety and public transportation improvements, which include an ambulance replacement for AFD. While my husband is a captain with the Anchorage Fire Department, neither I nor my household have any private or financial interest in these fire department-related items, and I am confident that I can act in the public trust. I make the disclosures tonight so you and the body can rule on my participation for these items.
Thank you very much, Ms. Domboski. As with past practice, I find no conflict on this. Is there any objection? Seeing and hearing none, you will participate.
Oh, thank you.
Please proceed.
The next, Mr. Chairman, I would like to give a subcommittee report on the remand to Eberhart versus the Municipality of Anchorage.
And Ms. Domboski,
Yes.
would you briefly, just for the edification of the folks who may not be as intimately involved in this as we are, the circumstances for the establishment of that subcommittee?
Sure. There's a case regarding tax assessments that has been remanded from the Superior Court to the City of Anchorage, to the Assembly specifically. So we have to reevaluate what happened, the previous process, and the chairman has set up a subcommittee basically to establish process and kind of shepherd us through this entire process. So the subcommittee is made up of myself, Mr. Evans, and Mr. Trainee. We've met twice. I believe it was the 22nd and 24th of April. We do have special counsel. His name is Joe Levesque. He's assisting us with the process, and Assembly Counsel Tucker has also been helping us through this process. Tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to start making disclosures relating to this case that's been remanded from the Superior Court. So is that a good enough?
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect.
So please proceed.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, on April 24th, the subcommittee met with special counsel in the matter of the remand from the Superior Court regarding Eberhart versus the Municipality of Anchorage. We reviewed written comment on the time and process for the adjudicatory hearing submitted by the attorneys on behalf of each party. With our counsel's advice, we determined a status hearing was in order. Tomorrow, May 7th at 6 p.m., the subcommittee will hold a status hearing with both parties in Assembly Conference Room 155, first floor, City Hall. The administrative adjudication hearing previously scheduled for May 7th and 8th has been postponed and will be rescheduled and noticed after we have had the status update and hear from the parties. In conjunction with the remand and following advice of our counsel, the subcommittee members wish to make disclosures of any potential conflicts in ex parte communications so you and the body may rule on any potential issues prior to the status hearing tomorrow night. This will also give us the opportunity to advise both parties of the disclosures and the rulings of the body. Additionally, Mr. Chairman, our counsel has advised that other members of the Assembly make their respective disclosures to you and the body at our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is May 20th, so those items will be on the record before we get too long in this process.
Thank you very much, Ms. Domboski. We're going to take up the subcommittee disclosures during special orders, which comes toward the end of our agenda, so hang on for that. With that,
Can I give one more report?
by all means.
I just wanted to say to Mr. Vacalis, Mr. Chairman, that on Saturday I attended Free Dump Day, and I actually was put to work by the members of Solid Waste Services out at the Highland landfill. For those who don't know, we have one more opportunity for Free Dump Day. It's this coming Saturday from 8 to 5 at the Highland landfill, and I have to say it was remarkable. I know when the Anchorage transfer station was open, some were saying there was up to a 2-hour wait. 15 minutes, you were in and out. And some people were reporting drop-offs as quick as 3 minutes. So if you've done your spring cleaning, cleaned up your yards, whatever, I suggest you take full advantage of the Free Dump Day on Saturday. It'll be the last one for this year, and it's from 8 to 5.
Did you wear your high vis and your safety toe boots?
I had a really cool orange vest.
Halfway there. All right. Mr. Peterson
No report, Mr. Chairman.
and Mr. Starr.
I don't have any report, but Mr. Vacalis, are we still going to get free dump coupons with our tax bills?
I believe so, sir. I'll find out and send a message to all of you.
That'd be helpful.
I think we are.
Thank you very much. I have no report, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Starr. Mr. Honeman.
No full report other than to remind the body and Public Safety Committee and community. The next meeting of the month of May will be Wednesday, the 21st of May at noon, and it'll be at the Lew-Sac Library's conference room, first floor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Honeman. Ms. Johnston.
Yes, there'll be a meeting of the Enterprise Committee Thursday at 11:30 in room 155, where we'll be getting our monthly update as far as the port, and we'll be getting a report as far as ML&P. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnston. That brings us to the addendum to the agenda. May I have a motion to incorporate, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We'll read that into the record real quickly. Oh. Item 9C, Charlie 1, AM 264-2014, recommendation of award to Alaska Mechanical Incorporated for the 2014 water and sewer improvements at Eklutna WTF. Doesn't mean what you think it is, folks. Polymer upgrade, Eagle River wastewater treatment facility blower upgrade for the municipality of Anchorage, Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility in the amount of $965,000. Purchasing Department. Item 9, Delta 4, AM 265-2014, approval of an amendment number 4 to professional legal services contract with the law offices of Rees Amodio regarding environmental issues and participation by the municipality in litigation relating to the contamination of municipal property on Reed Boulevard in the amount of $150,000. Department of Law. Item 9, Delta 5, Assembly Memorandum AM 266-2014, Jermaine Dunnigan and Owens Law Office, Professional Legal Services Contract, Amendment Number 3, relating to MOA versus FM Global Insurance, $150,000 by Risk Management. 9, Delta 6, AM 267-2014, sole source purchase of a skate park from Spawn Ranch Skate Parks for the municipality of Anchorage, Parks and Recreation Department in the amount of $129,176.20 by the Purchasing Department. And item 9, Delta 7, AM 268-2014, sole source purchase from Terry Parks and Steve Adams for a sound system and scoreboard system for the Sullivan Arena for the municipality of Anchorage, by the municipal manager's office, the amount of $640,103 by the purchasing department. With that, are there items to pull? Let's start with you. Actually, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Thank you. Moved and seconded. And now, prior to voting on that, Mr. Hall, anything to pull?
I do, Mr. Chairman, 9A4 for reading.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Steele.
I'd like to pull for informational purposes 9D7.
9 Delta 7. Thank you, Mr. Steele. Mr. Evans.
Yes, Mr. Chair, 9A1 and 9A3 for reading.
A1 and A3. Thank you. Mr. Trainee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I want to pull 9A5 and 9A7.
Thank you, Mr. Trainee. Ms. Gray Jackson.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Domboski.
9A6 for reading.
Thank you very much. Mr. Peterson.
Mr. Chairman, 9A2 for reading.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Mr. Starr.
No items.
And Mr. Honeman.
No items, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Johnston.
No items, thank you.
Okay, so all I have pulled are items 9 Alpha 1 through 9 Alpha 7. Did I miss anything? Oh, sorry, 9 Delta 7. Anything else? Okay, please vote on the balance of the agenda minus those items. Mr. Honeman.
Yes.
Ms. Johnston.
Yes.
That carries unanimously. That brings us to item 9 Alpha 1. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve.
Second.
Is there objection? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Evans.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing May 9th, 2014 as Police Memorial Day and an opportunity for remembering and honoring those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our community. Whereas, on Police Memorial Day, we pay tribute to the memory of fallen law enforcement officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our community and recognize those who currently serve enforcing our laws bringing criminals to justice and making our communities safer. And whereas all law enforcement officers deserve appreciation for the work they do, and citizens of the municipality of Anchorage fulfill an important civic responsibility supporting the work of law enforcement to protect our community, and whereas behind the name of each who died in the line of duty lies a story of courage and devotion to duty, as well as a deep sense of loss for the service, the country, and above all, for friends, family, and partners. And whereas we can never repay these gallant men and women for their service, nor adequately comfort their families, we can only honor their memory, not only in words and ceremony, but in our determination to forge a stronger, safer community, which they helped purchase with their lives. And whereas the following Anchorage Police Department officers have given their lives in the line of duty: Chief John J. Sturgis, 1921, Chief Harry C. Kavanaugh, 1924, Officer Benjamin F. Strong, 1968, Officer William G. Falmer, Jr., 1970, Officer Jonathan P. Flora, 1975, Officer Harry Keir, 1980, Officer Harry B. Hansen, Jr., 1986, Officer Louis G. Mazzell, 1989, Officer Dan R. Seeley, 1996, Officer Justin T. Woolham, 2001. Now, therefore, the Anchorage Assembly resolves that the Anchorage Assembly remembers and honors all those who have died in the line of duty by recognizing May 9th, 2014 as Police Memorial Day. In Section 2, that all residents are encouraged to honor and remember the fallen who gave their lives to protect this community and to remember their loved ones. In Section 3, that all people are urged to thank the men and women of law enforcement who serve our community and protect our citizens. Passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly this 6th day of May, 2014. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all very much. I am honored to accept the resolution, and I will bring it to the Police Memorial Day ceremonies on Friday, May 9th at 2 p.m. And I believe I'll be reading it into the record there, or at least I will deliver it for the purposes of the ceremony. This is, of course, going to be a difficult year for all of us. Our hearts go out to the troopers right now and the families of the two that were killed. It's going to be it's on everybody's mind. It's going to be quite a somber year this year. As always, we appreciate your support. And I hope to see you all at the memorial services at 2. And we're having our annual department picnic at noon at the police department. You're all welcome to come and attend. We meet old friends there, retirees, and folks that have been with us over the years. So thank you very much for keeping us in mind. This is quite an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That brings us to item 9, Alpha 2. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve.
Please press your button, sir.
Second.
Is there objection? Seeing and hearing none, the item is approved. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution of the municipality of Anchorage Municipal Assembly supporting the National Association of Letter Carriers for the 22nd annual Stamp Out Hunger food drive on Saturday, May 10th, 2014. Whereas the NALC Stamp Out Hunger food drive is held annually on the second Saturday in May and is the largest one-day food drive in the nation, with local efforts in more than 10,000 cities and towns across America, including Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Virgin Islands. And whereas last year, the 2013 NALC Stamp Out Food Hunger Drive collected 74.4 million pounds of non-perishable food, the second highest amount since the drive began in 1992. That brings the grand total to just under 1.3 billion pounds. And whereas Saturday, May 10th, 2014 will be the 22nd anniversary of the NALC Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive, and with the help of numerous local postal employees and volunteers, letter carriers will again collect and deliver non-perishable food donations to local Feeding America food banks. And whereas Feeding America provides hunger support to 37 million Americans every year by distributing 3 billion pounds of donated food and grocery products annually to local food banks, serving 1 in 8 Americans who rely on these organizations. And whereas donations to the Food Bank of Alaska, generated by the Stamp Out Hunger food drive, are critical to the operation of the FBA and its partner agencies, who provide food annually for an estimated 74,000 people statewide, and in Anchorage, 41,200 people, with 35% of those people in the households being children under the age of 18. Now, therefore, the Anchorage Municipal Assembly supports the 22nd Annual National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive on May 10, 2014, and applauds the cumulative success of the annual food drive on its 22nd anniversary. Residents of Anchorage are encouraged to join in this community effort through their donations of non-perishable food left at mailboxes and in U.S. post offices. Passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly this 6th day of May, 1914.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jim Raymond. I'm the local NELC branch president, covering all the way from Palmer all the way down to Homer. But the municipality, we have about 300 letter carriers here who on Saturday will be picking up those food items that you leave at your mailbox. And the food bank is asking for peanut butter and cereals for the kids. This is the time of year where the food bank, their shelves are going to be pretty bare. And this is a time where kids will be getting out of school and they're going to be getting their food from the food bank. And so letter carriers around the country for a 22nd year, we picking up the food and filling up those food banks. And so I encourage all of you, whether you're here in Anchorage or out in the valley, to go ahead and leave food. We'll pick it up. If we miss you on Saturday, we'll get you on Monday. But another good reason to keep mail delivery on Saturday, we got to keep this food drive alive. A little bit of a plug there. So on behalf of the 300 members in the NELC, thank you for this proclamation.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for the help of your members. I got my postcard today. That brings us to item 9, Alpha 3.
Move to approve.
Second. Is there any objection? Seeing and hearing none, that item is approved. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing and honoring Mary Susan Goosey for her 31 years of service to the municipality of Anchorage. Whereas Mary Susan Goosey has dedicated 31 years of her life to public service and the beautification of the municipality of Anchorage. And whereas Mary Susan Goosey began working part-time for the municipality in 1983 as a seasonal gardener. Since then, Mary Susan progressed through the Parks and Recreation Department, holding a variety of positions, including a water truck driver, a gardener too, a member of the mowing crew, the horticulture supervisor, and finally, Mary Susan was promoted as the municipal horticulturalist, where she has developed one of the most effective and efficient work units in the municipality. And whereas Mary Susan has embraced changes in administration, supervision, policies, budgets, she was always loyal to the mission of a beautiful, clean, and green city. And whereas Mary Susan led the horticultural section, including the historic municipal Manleaser Memorial Greenhouse and Horticulture Complex. Under Mary Susan's leadership, the horticulture program was responsible for the production, planting, maintenance, and irrigation of 461 flower beds and baskets with more than 76,000 annual flowers at 80 sites, operating 6 plant production greenhouses totaling 52,000 square feet, maintaining 180 landscape sites containing 21,600 trees, 39,000 shrubs, 1,100 perennials, and 3,000 feet of hedge. Whereas, over the course of her career, Mary Susan built one of the most efficient, municipally owned and operated horticulture programs in the nation. The municipal greenhouse is a well-oiled machine that other cities can only dream of. And whereas the flowers produced by the horticulture program beautify the municipality of Anchorage for the benefit of residents and visitors and the work adds to the economic vitality of downtown Anchorage. And whereas over the course of her many years of employment, Mary Susan received numerous calls and letters of appreciation from satisfied citizens and colleagues in departments throughout the municipality for jobs well done. Mary Susan willingly helped citizens and other municipal departments with projects to beautify and improve Anchorage. And whereas Mary Susan, along with her husband Paul, children, grandchildren, and friends, is anxious to begin the next phase of her life, including world travel, new projects, and more time with family. And whereas Mary Susan retired from the municipal employment April 30th, 2014. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizes and honors Mary Susan Goosey for her 31 years of service to the municipality of Anchorage and the citizens of Anchorage.
This sounds like an awful tall order here that I've done. It's actually, I've been able to do this with the help of a lot of other people that I've worked with over the years, and it's taken teamwork, but I've really appreciated being part of the city, being able to wake up every morning, go to work, see the city wake up, help beautify the area, work with everybody in Parks and Rec. And thank you very much. This is an honor.
Well, we very much appreciate it. And if you need a small work crew you need to whip into shape, just for old time's sake, I've got a couple that you can.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 9 Alpha 4. Mr. Hall.
Move approval.
Second.
Is there any objection? Seeing and hearing none, that's approved. Mr. Hall.
A resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing and celebrating National Drinking Water Week, May 4th through the 10th, 2014. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and the municipality is graced with a uniquely pristine and abundant supply of pure water from the glaciers and snowfields of the Chugach Mountains wilderness, and whereas since the founding of the city of Anchorage in 1920, its citizens have invested continuously in the expansion and maintenance of municipal water services, such that today the total length of the water transmission and the distribution extend over 850 miles underground. And whereas in 2013, Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility provided 8,359,300,000 gallons of water to the taps of its customers. That's 22.9 million gallons per day, accessible on demand anytime with nearly 100% reliability. And whereas AWWU supports the public health, safety, and economic interest of the community by providing quality water and wastewater services in a responsible, efficient, and sustainable manner. And whereas AWWU is committed to investment, ensuring reliable services to safeguard public health and the environment long into the future. And whereas only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support of our economy, and the quality of life that helps make Anchorage the best place in the nation to live, work, and play. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Anchorage Assembly recognizes and celebrates National Drinking Water Week, May 4th through the 10th, 2014, passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly the 6th day of May, 2014.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hall, thank you very much for this recognition, and we'd like to offer a little offering for the members of the Assembly. This is a memento to help you think about the city's clear commitment to public health and the environment, and the work that the city does in bringing pure water from Eklutna Lake through 850 miles of pipe to the taps all across the city. It's also a good thing that we want you to be looking at this clear glass of water and thinking about not only the city's clear commitment, but what it takes to get there. And that would be the clearly reliable infrastructure that brings that water from Eklutna Lake and the wells to you, the clearly responsible financing that is provided by our ratepayers and by our oversight from the Regulatory Commission of Alaska, and the clearly professional service of 285 professional employees from unions and non-represented folks from the utility. So we thank you very much for the recognition and Skol. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Don't run away.
Don't run away yet.
Mr. Jokel and Mr. Traney has a question for you.
I just want to thank you guys for all you do. With the National League of Cities, I've talked to other cities that have a real problem getting enough water for their inhabitants. And I was just looking recently that Las Vegas now, they've got a problem with their aquifer. They may run out of water. So I deeply appreciate the service you guys provide us. And it runs into this town to every tap. And it is marvelous what you can do with that water coming out of the glaciers.
Well, we're really blessed that we have the Chugach Mountains to provide a water source for us. That's unique among communities of our size across the nation, and it's a great place to live, work, and play, and drink the fine water that the mountains provide.
What's the carrying capacity of that watershed? Do you know how many people?
The carrying capacity of the watershed in terms of how big could the city be to
Right.
Boy, I haven't thought about that. We do know that Professor Mike Loso from APU has been studying the glacier for a number of years now, and we are benefiting right now from the warming of the glacier and the retreat of the glacier, such that we've got additional water flow through the lake that provides not only water for our customers but also for ML&P's customers. But regardless of the fact that there's a bit of a warming trend right now and a bit of an extra discharge from the glacier through the lake, I think we have hundreds of years of water available at the present rate, and I think that the water availability will outpace the growth of the community for some time to come.
Probably outlast us, sir.
Thank you.
I'm just waiting for you to go in the bottled water business.
You know, we used to do bottled water, but you know what? It's better if you just fill it from the tap. Thanks very much.
One comes to get our water at one time.
All right, that brings us to item 9 Alpha 5. Mr. Traney.
Move to approve item 9 Alpha 5, Resolution AR 2014-114.
Is there any objection? Seeing and hearing none, that is approved. Mr. Traney.
Okay. This is Anchorage Resolution AR 2014-114, a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing and honoring Vivian M. Lakowski for her 36 years of service with the municipality of Anchorage. Whereas Vivian M. Lakowski began her employment with the Anchorage Central Utilities, CAU, a private utility, in January 1978 as a customer service representative, where she was responsible for all aspects of customer service functions. She later became an accountant clerk 3, where responsibilities included billing, collections, disconnections, and additional support to the accounts payable and payroll. And whereas when the municipality purchased CAU on January 1st, 1984, Vivian transitioned to a position with the IT help desk at the Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility, AWW, where her responsibilities ranged from running billing jobs, computer backups, PC implementation and support, to printer assistance, Microsoft upgrades, user account maintenance, and her applications training. Vivian was part of a team to experience the technology shift from mainframes to PCs. She went from supporting the mainframe system to being involved in the historical event of rolling out and supporting the very first PCs in the utility. And whereas Vivian accepted a position as systems analyst at the IT Applications Service Division in May of 2001, where she became an integral part of the utility's internet and intranet website development and support, provided design and implementation services for the multiple division sales. She also participated in several large-scale projects such as PeopleSoft, Maximo, CIS System, and ESRI implementation. She accepted responsibilities as a key support role in the PeopleSoft security process. And whereas Vivian received numerous utility employee recognition awards to include Employee of the Month in 1989 and 2000, Work Unit of the Month in 1992, 1994, 1997, Work Unit of the Quarter in 2001, Work Unit of the Year in 1994, and Municipality Work Unit of the Year in 1997. She also received an ESRI Special Achievement Award and was recognized for GIS excellence. Vivian served as a member of the Revenue Enhancement Improvement Team, which was awarded Work Unit of the Quarter for their innovative approach to their reviewing, reporting, and recommending improvements to the revenue stream. And whereas Vivian's pleasant and professional attitude has always been appreciated and has made coming to work more enjoyable for those around her. Her perseverance and commitment to excellence has won the admiration of her colleagues and has helped build a stellar reputation of AWW. And whereas Vivian retired on April 30, 2014, leaving the utility with an outstanding record of dedication, now therefore be resolved that the Anchorage Assembly recognizes the many contributions and honors Vivian M. Lakowski for 36 years of service to the Municipality of Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility, the Municipality of Anchorage, and the citizens of Anchorage, passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly the 16th day of May, 2014.
Wow. Thank you. Oh my goodness. It's going to make me cry. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to say, I think this covers my retirement resume here. I have this all listed here, so I don't have to go back and try to remember all that I've accomplished over my time. But I do want to say it's been an honor and a privilege, sincerely, to work for the municipality, Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility, and the Information Technology Group. We've come a long way in the years, many years that I've been at the utility, and I've always appreciated their sense of working towards making us better employees so that we work better for the community and for the utility itself. And with that said, I received a lot of the knowledge that I have today is from just working within the utility and the things that they have allowed me to go ahead and do and take on various tasks. So with a heavy heart, I did retire, and I've only been retired 4 years, but I already miss my work family. But I just want to wish the municipality, AWW, and the community the best of luck for the next 36 years to come. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. And Mr. Trainee has one more thing for you.
Yes.
You do such a good job at AWW for the city, because people don't even think about it when they turn their water on where it comes from. When the wastewater goes, they don't worry about where it goes. And that's because of what you do and all the people that work at AWW.
And well, just the fact that they were recognized tonight just made me even that much more proud to have been a AWW employee, because of the fact we do take it for granted. I mean, you know, I'm on a septic and well, and many a time I wish that we had water so that we could just turn on the tap and, you know, it'd be there rather than some of the times when we're out. But yes, I'm very privileged. You guys have a wonderful utility here at AWW, so thank you.
Well, thank you, Vivian.
I appreciate it.
That brings us to item 9, Alpha 6. Ms. Demboski.
Move to approve.
Is there an objection? Seeing and hearing none, that item is approved. Ms. Demboski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing and honoring Denise M. Dargan for her 32 years of service with the municipality of Anchorage. Denise, are you here? Come on up. Whereas Denise Dargan began her career with the municipality of Anchorage in August 1981 in the capacity as a temporary part-time library clerk at the Scott and Wesley Garish Branch Library, and whereas upon serving the public faithfully and diligently for 32 years, she retires from her position as the Scott and Wesley Garish Branch Library Associate Librarian on May 1st, 2014. And whereas Denise's public career has spanned the administrations of 7 mayors, 8 library directors, and 2 building relocations. And whereas Denise has proudly served the community of Girdwood in many facets, from serving on the task force that fundraised from 2004 to 2008 to assist with the creation of the present building and co-performing puppet shows on the main stage during the local forest fair for several years. And whereas during her tenure, Denise has overseen the installation of new signage, a second book drop, and improved lighting in the stacks for the patrons at the New Garish Branch Library. And whereas Denise led thousands of story times over the years while wearing the hats of youth services librarian and branch manager. And whereas she is a shining example of dedication and commitment to coworkers and fellow citizens of Anchorage and Girdwood. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Anchorage Assembly hereby recognizes and honors Denise M. Dargan for her 32 years of dedicated service to the municipality of Anchorage and its citizens, passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly the 6th day of May, 2014.
Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate this. It's been truly a blessing to work my entire career with the municipality in such a library-supportive Turnagain Arm community as Girdwood. And I thank the Assembly and all of the residents for all your support. I thank my family, my daughter and granddaughters are here tonight for sharing me with you. And I thank my current, past, and future library family for working so diligently to provide this community with wonderful library services. I look forward to being a customer. And I just want to close with the plea that we all remember to do a good read daily. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Dargan. And by the way, as a somewhat frequent visitor to Girdwood, I know how popular the library is down there, so great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to item 9, Alpha 7. Mr. Trainee.
Thank you. Move to approve AR 2014-116.
Is there any objection? Seeing and hearing none, that item is approved. Mr. Trainee.
This is AR 2014-116, a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing and honoring Terry Monaghan for almost 30 years of service with the municipality of Anchorage. Whereas Terry Monaghan began working for the municipality of Anchorage Police Department in January 1985, and whereas her career has spanned the administration of 7 mayors: Tony Knowles, Tom Fink, Rick Mystrom, George Wirtz, Mark Begich, acting Mayor Matt Clayman, and Mayor Dan Sullivan. And whereas Terry's duties began as a programmer for the Anchorage Municipal Police Department, APD, where she was instrumental in the implementation of the first computer-aided dispatch, CAD, system, giving dispatchers rapid access to critical information. This new dispatch system resulted in a new process that increased departmental response times during emergencies. In addition, she's implemented programs that enhanced departmental process that delivered efficiencies with every division of APD. One of her most notable programs reduced officer court overtime by aligning officer court schedules with court appearances. And whereas Terry later transferred to the Information Technology Department in 2001, where she began in desktop services and provided support to the employees of the municipality of Anchorage for their daily use of the MOA IT system. She later transitioned to maintaining all external and internal websites. Her exceptional expertise has facilitated in the dissemination of information not only to employees but also to the public. And whereas since electronic voting was implemented, she's been instrumental in developing and delivering election results during muni elections. Due to her commitment, results are made available to the public immediately by utilizing processes which she's developed and was praised for it in every election she has supported. And whereas Terry has been a key member of the Synergy project team, has been deeply involved in every aspect in the preparation of the departments for the new system. Her contributions to this project will be one of the key factors in securing a smooth transition, whereas Terry's loyalty and professionalism is incomparable, and she's an example of what a public servant should be, as shown by her work efforts through assisting employees and the general public at large, and her diligent commitment to our community is apparent in every aspect of her life. Whereas Terry's civil service has been pivotal as an information system programmer and has retired from her position as of April 30, 2014. The Anchorage Assembly hereby recognizes and honors Terry Monaghan for her devoted service to the municipality of Anchorage and its citizens. Passed and approved by the Anchorage Municipal Assembly the 6th day of May 2014.
So this is a day that I thought would never get here. And now that it has, I can't believe all this time has gone by. So from the time I started at APD, it's the old 6th and C substation. I've seen a lot of changes. The little tiny computers, Dell and I were just talking about that, to what we have today. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing almost 30 years. So it's been an honor and a privilege. And I'm happy to be leaving.
Well, you don't get to leave quite yet because Ms. Dabowski has a question for you.
Oh.
Terry, I was just going to say we spoke recently, and I know how much you and your husband are looking forward to this summer, traveling, spending time with family, and I just wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
One moment, Mr. Honeman. I have Ms. Gray Jackson, and I'll get to you. Ms. Gray Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Terry, it's been great knowing you and working with you all these years, and you're really going to be missed. And we were so busy having a good time chatting that we didn't even hear when the resolution was completed being read. But anyway, it's good seeing you, and I wish you and Walt a wonderful rest of your life.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Gray Jackson. Mr. Honeman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thanks for the privilege. Terry, it's been wonderful working with you all these years in our collective careers. I'm sorry I'm not there personally to give you a big hug, shake your hand, and congratulate you and Walt both on proud and excellent civil service to our community. So I just want to take a few moments just to recollect my colleagues and the public. Walking out the door with Ms. Monaghan is 129 years collective service lost to our workforce, institutional knowledge, history, and excellent service. So those are big voids to fill, and last in the order of recognition, certainly not least. Congratulations, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a brief moment before we move on. As Mr. Honeman pointed out, we're watching almost 130 years of municipal service leave us tonight. We also lost another municipal employee this weekend. I think most of you know Elaine Lowe, who worked in our legal department, was fatally injured in an accident riding with her husband. Fortunately, he is okay. But I would like that we take a moment of silence and stand and honor Ms. Lowe. That brings us to item 9, Delta 7. Mr. Steele.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move 9D7.
Please press your button, sir.
Second.
Mr. Steele.
Yes, I pulled this item because it appears to me there may be a duplication in our process here. This is dealing with the purchase of a scoreboard, including freight, and an item we're going to deal with later this evening, 14D, also says it has the purchase of the same items. So I just wanted to bring that up and make sure that we aren't duplicating those items. Okay.
Mr. Steele, okay. Yeah, I believe item 14D is, you didn't get to sit in on the meeting where we discussed this, but 14D is going to be postponed indefinitely, so this is a substitute for it. But thank you for that.
Well, I did pick it up, so I get points for that.
Yeah, you do. Sharp eyes are important. All right. Any other questions on that? Is there any objection to approval of this?
No objection.
Mr. Starr?
No objection. I wanted to change the order of the day to take up 11A. It's an appointment verification of planning and zoning. The gentleman's here. No sense in holding him after dinner.
Oh, we weren't going to. Don't worry. Can we
Great.
finish this one?
Thank you. And then also acknowledge those that were appointed to boards and commissions too. There was one in there as well.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Starr. So seeing and hearing no objection, item 9 Delta 7 is approved. And with that, if you were appointed to, actually, let's do 11A and then we'll get to the recognition of boards and commission members. So that brings us to item 11A, Assembly Memorandum 228-2014, Planning and Zoning Appointment, Mr. Brandon J.M. I hope I get this right. Sporhas? Sporhays. All right.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there objection? Seeing, hearing none. Welcome aboard, Mr. Sporhays. Please
All right.
introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor for the confidence and allowing me the opportunity. Secondly, I'd like to thank the Assembly for approving my appointment. I'm an Eagle River guy that's enjoyed my service on the Board of Equalization, and I look forward to continued public service on the planning and zoning. Thank you.
Well, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. Mr. Starr wants to interrogate you.
No, I don't. But thanks for stepping up. You know, oftentimes you have so much work during the day that you oftentimes can't give back to your community through this way. So, Brandon, I'll call you that because we'll get to know each other. You're going to work hard for my community as well in the decision making as we come aboard. So, I groomed there myself. So a couple stints in planning and zoning is helpful for you to knowledge base yourself out. So, thank you for serving.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sporhays. Yep. And do we have any other appointees who'd like to come introduce themselves to us? If you're on the consent agenda, come on up. All right. If you're being shy, we'll move on. That brings us to item 11B. That's AM 226-2014. Mr. Trainee.
Mr. Chairman, at the request of administration, I want to move that one down to the 20th of May. We'll be in front of us then, sir.
Press your button, sir. Second, please.
Second.
Is there any objection to postponing to our meeting on May 20? Seeing and hearing none, that item is postponed. That brings us to item 11C, AM 56-2014, Internal Audit Report for 2014-02, the Accounts Payable Finance Department. Ms. Gray-Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to accept.
Moved and seconded. Is there objection? Seeing and hearing none, that item is accepted. That brings us to item 11D, AIM 21-2014 for the Anchor School District 6-year capital improvement plan, July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2020. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded to accept. Is there objection? Seeing and hearing none, that item is accepted. That brings us to item 11E, Resolution AR 2013-276, a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly establishing policy guidelines and direction for collective bargaining and contract negotiations. Mr. Starr.
I don't intend to move it.
It's already okay. Could you move to postpone indefinitely then, please?
Move to postpone indefinitely, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Is there objection? Seeing and hearing none, that item is postponed indefinitely. May I have a motion to waive the rules and take up item 12A?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on, I'd like to point a clarification from Mr. Weaver on the Streets and Highways plan that was submitted to us. It's asking for a public hearing back on the 20th, and I wasn't able to pull some of my community council folks out in my area if that's an appropriate time to bring that, or do we want to provide some additional time to review the accuracy of it? It's a pretty lengthy document. The public hearing's set on the 20th, and while we're meeting, if it needs to be moved, maybe we should move it now. But, Mr. Weaver, is there going to be input from the community councils?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Starr, there was quite a collaborative effort that took place in the process up to today. It's not a great rush to hear this at this point in time. If you think it needs additional review by a particular council or
I would like to do that. I'll change the order to take it up a little bit later. There's a couple councils, Perchwood and Chugiak, perhaps, that have some of that inference. And I know Ms. Osiander may want to take a crack at it too. So,
okay.
If you don't mind, bring it back in a month?
Sure, the more input, the better.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Starr, in that case, would you please move to go back up the agenda and change the public hearing date for that item?
Right, thanks for the liberty to do that. So it's 9 Foxtrot 3. I'd like to take up 2014-63 to change the public hearing date.
And the date you wanted to move it to was June 24?
You know, we can probably do it by June 10th.
June 10th?
I think most of the councils don't meet in June anyhow, so just get it done.
Okay, if you press your button.
Second.
It's been moved.
Second.
There's a second from Mr. Honeman. Is there objection to changing the public hearing date to June 10? Seeing and hearing none, that public hearing date is changed. That does bring us to item 12A. I asked for a motion to waive the rules. I think I had that.
You had one.
Okay, is there objection to waiving the rules, taking up item 12A at this time? Seeing and hearing none, is Mr. Maltby here? Please come forward, sir.
Good evening.
Maltby, thank you.
I know you guys have a busy agenda. My name is Sean Maltby, the general manager for the Anchorage Bucks, and I've got Gary that works with us as well. I wanted to address, and I've got a brief statement. I know you have a busy agenda, so I just want to be brief with it, but we have been doing the fireworks on July 4th for the patrons of our baseball games for 20 plus years now, probably close to 25. It was recently discovered that this event is now, we believe, is a citywide event, and it probably has been for some time. There are two non-profits that flip the entire $25,000+ bill. That is the Anchorage Bucks and the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. This event is enjoyed by more than 30,000 residents of Anchorage that flock to the vicinity of just the ballpark, Mulcahy Stadium. Does not include the higher elevations as Flat Top, Hilltop, Government Hill. These are all estimated numbers by the APD traffic unit, which we met with in October. The bills have almost become too much to bear. They include the police, fire inspections, traffic plans, noise permits, rental of all four Kaczynski fields, rental of AFS, and rental of Mulcahy Stadium twice that night. As I described the bills to you, all of them are municipal bills minus the traffic plan. We are looking for the city, or we're asking the city to assist us to help us cover these expenses for this ever-growing event. And I know one of the biggest questions is, why do you continue to do it? Well, both the Bucks and Pilots, it's an easy answer for us because our organizations are committed to military community service, and this event is built into our DNA and has become tradition. That's all I have, and I'd welcome to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maltby. Ms. Domboski has a question for you.
Thank you. Would it be possible for you to send us a spreadsheet of what your costs are associated with this project?
Absolutely, I can.
Okay. If you just provide it to the clerk, she'll distribute it to all of us.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Domboski. Ms. Gray Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here. Mr. Train and I met with you and I can't remember your name.
Gary.
And when we met, I was really surprised that, two organizations paid for the fireworks display, because as long as I've been in this town, long time, I thought the municipality paid for it because all the citizens in this community are the ones that are enjoying it, just like the Ferrandi, at least contributed. So my question is going to be to the administration, but I just wanted to thank you for coming. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, can I ask the administration if it's possible for this organization to apply for a grant to at least help with the cost that they've been paying for 25 years?
It's at least 25 years at this point.
Yeah. That'd be fine, Madam Ms. Gray Jackson. Mr. Maltby, I don't see any further questions, so you're welcome to sit down, and we'll let Ms. Gray Jackson pose her question.
Thank you.
Right. To Mr. Baker, who I believe handles the grants, can this organization apply for a grant and with the hopes of getting one for, to help them out at least this 4th of July?
Actually, Ms. Gray Jackson, through the chair, they did apply. They applied for $25,000, but as you know, at the last assembly meeting, of the $1.3 million, there was only $300,000 available. So Project Access and other very worthy organizations, there just simply was not enough funds to go to all the organizations that applied. I think there were 16 nonprofits that we were not able to provide dollars to because of the limited amount of money.
Right. If I can follow up, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Baker. I understand. And The good news is we approved through the first quarter budget revision process an additional $100,000, and I'm happy that Project Access is going to get an additional $10,000. But you think through that $100,000 that maybe you can give this organization something to help them out?
Well, we can certainly talk to the mayor about that. I do want to share with the Assembly that of the $100,000 that you appropriated, there's a lot of people that have waited in line. None of the people that we gave grants to were in the amount of $25,000. We simply did not give that amount of funds to any one organization.
Okay. One more follow-up, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Baker, I think that since this is the first time that they're asking for any money, entertaining our community every 4th of July, I hope that it's possible that the administration would do something to help out. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Baker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Gray Jackson. That brings us to our action items. We don't have a lot to do here, folks. Do you want a break for dinner or you want to keep on rolling?
Let's keep on rolling.
Good instinct. Okay. That brings us to item 14A. That's AO 2014-50, an ordinance approving a collective bargaining agreement between the Municipality of Anchorage and the Anchorage Municipal Employees Association and reducing the 30-day period for public review and comment from the Employee Relations Department. That's accompanied by an Assembly Memorandum, AIM 200-2014, and an Information Memorandum, AIM 58-2014. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing and hearing no one, the public hearing is now closed. What is the wish of the body?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Please vote. Mr. Hahnemann.
Yes.
Ms. Johnston.
Yes.
Amy? Ms. Dimboski votes yes. And so by a vote of 11 yeas and 0 nays, that motion carries. That brings us to item 14B, AO 2014-56, an ordinance amending Anchorage Municipal Code, Section 6.70.125 to permit collection fees according to a percentage-based fee, flat fee, contingency fee, or actual cost of collection from the Finance Department and Municipal Treasurer, accompanied by Assembly Memorandum 2013-2014. This is another public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak to us on this matter? Seeing and hearing no one, public hearing is now closed. What is the wish of the body?
Move approval. Second.
Second.
Yeah, this is B. Okay. I believe we had a request from the administration on this one. Is that correct,
No, we
Mr.
have
Vakelis,
C.
or was that C?
We have C, request on
Okay.
C, and then D, we're going to postpone it then.
All right.
Nothing on B.
With that, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead, and once I get the button, I'll let you vote. Go for it.
Yes.
Mr. Hahnemann.
Yes.
Ms. Johnston.
Yes.
And so by a vote of 11 yeas and 0 nays, that motion carries. That brings us to item of 14C. This is AO 2014-57, an ordinance amending Anchorage Municipal Code, sections 1150.280, 11.60.205, 25.35.125, 26.10.25, and 26.10.65 to establish the timing of payments of Municipal Enterprise Service Assessment, MISA, and Municipal Utility Service Assessment, MUSA, and Utility Revenue Distribution to general government, and repealing in its entirety Anchorage Municipal Code, Section 26.10.75 regarding Anchorage Telephone Utility, which we don't have anymore, brought to us by the Finance Department, Public Finance and Investments Division. That's accompanied by Assembly Memorandum 231-2014. This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak to us on this matter? Seeing and hearing no one, the public hearing is now closed. Mr. Traney.
Mr. Chairman, move to continue this item to the 20th of May, request administration.
Can we just postpone? Because the public hearing is closed.
Is there going to be an S version coming to administration?
Through the chair, there will be a S version on the ordinance and an A version on the AM.
Okay, we'll continue then, yeah. There's a motion and a second. Mr. Starr.
Not to that, I could have some information. Do we bill the entities, Ms. Mahoney? Or how do they know how much they have to pay?
They determine how much they pay themselves based on the formulas that are set out. And then we just do movements between our funds.
And so is there any that have, I hate to say it, flexible assessments or anything that would be unknown through the period of that up until July as you propose?
No, the objective of this ordinance is to establish firm dates that the payments are made. And so, once the books are audited, then the dollar amounts are known.
I understand, and that occurs all before July 1st or whatever date you're preparing.
That's correct.
Great. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Starr. Is there objection to the continuation of the public hearing to our meeting of May 20? Seeing and hearing none, that matter is continued. That brings us to item 14D, AO 2014-60, an ordinance appropriating an amount not to exceed $889,804 from the proceeds of an interfund loan to the General Liability and Workers' Compensation Self-Insured Fund 602 to the Area-Wide Capital Improvement Fund 401 for the acquisition and installation of a replacement scoreboard for the George M. Sullivan Arena, all within the Municipal Manager's Department, brought to us by the Finance Department, Public Finance, and Investments Division. That's accompanied by AM 238-2014. And remember, we're going to postpone this indefinitely, but if you want to speak to us on it, please come forward at this time. Seeing and hearing no one, the public hearing is now closed. Mr. Traney.
Postpone indefinitely, Mr. Chairman.
Have a second, please.
Second.
Moved and second. Is there objection? Seeing and hearing none, that item is postponed indefinitely. That brings us to item 14E. That's AR 2014-103, a resolution of the Municipality of Anchorage appropriating $450,000 of other fines and forfeitures from federal seizures and forfeitures to the Federal State Fine and Forfeiture Fund 257 for use by the Anchorage Police Department. That's accompanied by Assembly Memorandum 222-2014. This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak to us on this matter? Seeing and hearing no one, public hearing is now closed.
Move approval.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there objection to this matter? Seeing and hearing none, that item is approved. That brings us to item 14F, AR 2014-107, a resolution of the Municipality of Anchorage appropriating $111,600 from the United States Department of Homeland Security and a match contribution of $21,354 from the Anchorage Fire Service Area Operating Fund 131, AFD 2014 operating budget, and $9,000 from the IAFF Local Union 1264 as a contribution to the Federal Grants Fund 241, Anchorage Fire Department to support a health and fitness program and purchase fitness equipment. This is accompanied by an Assembly Memorandum 235-2014, and we did indicate Ms. DeBoski can participate on this one. This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak to us on this matter? Seeing and hearing no one, public hearing is now closed.
Move to approve.
Mr. Hunnam has moved. Mr. Troy Jackson has seconded. Is there objection to this matter? Seeing and hearing none, that item is approved. That brings us to item 14G. That's Resolution AR 2014-109. A resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly approving an alcoholic beverages conditional use for a package store use and license number 1011 in the B3 SL General Business District for Three Bears Alaska Incorporated, doing business as Three Bears, located at 22211 Birchwood Loop Road within the Three Bears subdivision, Lot 1, generally located south of McKinley View Avenue, north of the Glen Highway, and east of the Birchwood Loop Road in Chugiak, Birchwood, and Chugiak Community Councils, case number 2014-52 by the Community Development Department. That's accompanied by Assembly Memorandum 239-2014. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to us on this matter? Welcome, sir. We got to you as fast as we could.
Right, there we go. My name's Steve Myrop. I'm a vice president with Three Bears Alaska. I'm just here to answer any questions if y'all have any. That's all.
We appreciate your coming down. I see a question from Mr. Traney.
So when are you going to move into the rest of the bowl? I appreciate you going to Eagle River, but there are other parts of Anchorage we'd like you in.
Have you been to one of our stores?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so you probably understand our relationship with Costco.
I do.
This is the closest we've ever been to one. They encouraged us to get this close, but we would never.
But no closer, huh?
Right now, we won't come into a market where they are.
Okay,
so.
well, you've got a great store, sir. I look forward to it.
Well, thank you very much.
I see nobody else in the queue. Thank you, Mr. Myrop.
Thank you.
May I have a motion, please? Oh, sorry. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing and hearing no one, public hearing is now closed. Ms. Domboski?
Second.
Mr. Domboski, you wish to speak to this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I recognize that in the items that the Assembly has before them, it shows no resolutions by the Chugiak or Birchwood Community Councils, but I would like to say that I have attended numerous meetings where Three Bears has presented to both councils. I think out of the entire time, I've heard maybe one person that's the closest resident that has not really been too thrilled. But I know Three Bears has been very diligent in reaching out to him. They've spoken with him, they've emailed him because I've seen the train go back and forth. And overall, the biggest concern was about some of the turning traffic. And it seems like this vendor has been very responsive, and overwhelmingly the community has embraced them and welcomed them. So welcome to Birchwood, and we look forward to a wonderful relationship.
All right. I see no one else in queue. Please proceed to vote. Mr. Hahnemann.
Yes.
And Ms. Johnston.
Yes.
So by a vote of 11 yeas and 0 nays, that matter is approved. That brings us to special orders. Ms. Demboski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, with respect to Everhart versus the MOA remand from the Superior Court, I wish to disclose receipt of a campaign endorsement and contribution 2 years ago from one of the current appellants in this matter. In 2012, I received a contribution from Chuck Spinelli. I understand from the municipal clerk's notice dated March 26, Nanny Schlussner
Yes, tough one. Go ahead.
is substituted for Ray Craig by court order. Mr. Chair, the reason I mention that is because I did receive a campaign contribution from Ray Craig, and he's listed throughout the documents. However, he's no longer an appellate, but I would like that to be on the record. Furthermore, Mr. Chair, the Assembly's first work session on the remand was held on February 21st, 2014, and I was unable to attend. In terms of ex parte communication, I did receive and return a telephone call from Andre Spinelli, Mr. Chuck Spinelli's son, on or about February 21st. Andre Spinelli inquired about the February 21st work session, but because I didn't attend, I had no knowledge about the Everhart remand until a later date, and I referred Andre Spinelli to the municipal website for the 21st work session. Additionally, Mr. Chair, since the training I attended on March 5th, I have followed advice of counsel and avoided any ex parte contact on this matter. I have had no contact with the appellants in this case on this or any other matter. I have had occasional and routine contact with members of the administration, including Mr. Wheeler, but never on this matter. I joined the Assembly in April 2013 and have no private or financial interest in this matter. I am confident I can act in the public trust. I make these disclosures so you and the body may rule on any potential conflict I may have for the remand or under Municipal Ethics Code AMC Chapter 1.15.
Thank you, Ms. Demboski. And just for the edification of the folks who may be watching, this is an adjudicatory matter. The Assembly does not take these up very often, and so we're being very careful that we're following the rules, doing disclosures properly, and following procedure. And as we referenced earlier, Ms. Demboski, Mr. Traney, and Mr. Evans are acting on my behalf in ensuring we do this correctly. So, based on that, I see no basis for conflict under Anchorage Code Section 1.15 or this remand order. I understand your disclosure on ex parte contact. I'll get to mine later. And respect that you're maintaining independent judgment and have not discussed this matter with any party. Does the body concur with that finding? Seeing and hearing no objection, we'll enter that into the record. Mr. Traney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In reviewing the full list of appellants in the Everhart versus MOA remand from the Superior Court dated September 6, 2013, I see that I received a 2013 campaign contribution from Corbett Mott, named appellant in this matter. In terms of ex parte communication, I have none to disclose. I participated in the work session on February 21, 2014, when I first learned of the remand order. Consistent with the advice of counsel and my duties as Vice Chair of the body, I will avoid ex parte contacts in the Everhart matter and remand from the Superior Court. As Vice Chairman and a member of the body, I continue to have routine contact with members of the administration, including contact with Municipal Attorney Wheeler and his staff, but not on the Everhart remand matter. I have no private or financial interest in this matter. I'm confident that Mr. Mott's support of my campaign will not influence my decision in the Everhart matter.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Traney. I see no basis for conflict under AMC Chapter 1.15 or this remand order. I understand your disclosure related to your 2013 campaign and respect that as a veteran Assembly member, you are maintaining independent judgment and serving the public's interest. Is there any objection to this finding? Hearing none, we'll enter that into the record. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to Eberhard versus the Municipality of Anchorage remand from the Superior Court, I wish to disclose receipt of a 2014 campaign contribution of $500 from Chuck Spinelli, who is one of the current appellants in this matter. Although I've not met Chuck Spinelli, I did have lunch at one point with his son, Andre Spinelli, who also contributed $250 to my 2014 campaign. I also understand from the municipal clerk's notice dated March 26th that Ray Craig, who is also a contributor to my campaign, has been substituted in this matter. I was elected and subsequently sworn in on April 15th, 2014, and prior to serving on the Assembly, I had no knowledge of the remand order or the pending issues related to this litigation. In terms of ex-parte communication, I have none to disclose, and consistent with the advice of counsel and my duties as a member of this body, I will not be engaging in any ex parte contacts about the Eberhard matter under remand from Superior Court. I expect to have contact with members of the administration, including Mr. Wheeler, but not on the Eberhard remand matter. I have no private or financial interest in this matter. I am confident that Mr. Spinelli's support for my campaign will not influence my decisions in the Eberhard matter, and I will be able to represent the public interest without conflict.
Thank you very much, Mr. Evans. I see no basis for conflict under AMC Chapter 1.15 or this remand order. I understand your disclosure related to your 2014 campaign and respect that as a newly elected Assembly member, you are maintaining independent judgment and serving the public's interest. Is there any objection to that finding? Seeing here none, we'll enter that into the record. And just for the rest of you, I do expect that you will have periodic contact with the Municipal Attorney's Office. I do expect that you will refrain from discussing this matter and will apply to you a blanket waiver for those communications. But keep this out of it. Mr. Starr.
Well, perhaps, Mr. Chairman, the blending of the ex parte communication language in with the disclosure listing under 15035. Can you explain to me why they're making an effort to disclose the ex parte communication in a non-traditional disclosure?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mr. Starr, and I'm going to get to mine in a moment here, but let Ms. Tucker speak to that, and then I'll follow up if there's anything else. Ms. Tucker, would you speak to the point on the reason for disclosing ex parte communication?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Through Mr. Chair, Mr. Starr, the subcommittee will be attending and presiding over a status hearing with the parties tomorrow evening. And so in consultation with special counsel and to create a baseline of disclosure, it seemed appropriate to both disclose any ex parte contact and within the disclosures that are given under the ethics code, because both apply for the adjudicatory part of the hearing.
Aren't the measures of the conflict different, however, though, in that the ex parte communication is measured differently than the 115 that we have, Ms. Tucker? Meaning that you could be conflicted out under the ex parte, but you wouldn't be conflicted out under the fact that they took a campaign check, for example?
Through the chair, Mr. Starr, ex parte, it is routine for adjudicatory boards to go ahead and disclose ex parte contact.
I would need some clarification prior to disclosing mine, and I'm not going to do it tonight, naturally, but I was struck between the blending of it tonight at that, because I would want to have the ex parte communication potential conflict weighed separately when I do mine, that's all. So if that's the ruling of the chair that you're going to put the two together, I may have to, explain it differently.
Sure. Well,
that said, what would be my resource to, prior to my disclosures, have some conversation with legal on the ex parte? Is it the ethics officer, or is it Ms. Tucker, Mr. Wheeler?
I would route your inquiries through Ms. Tucker, and if we need additional resources, we'll make them available to you.
And then I'm happy with the resources available for financial being this body, but is there a ruling on the ex parte outside of this body that would apply?
Not that I'm aware of. Ms. Tucker?
Through the chair, Mr. Starr, if we also, to supplement the Assembly in this matter, we also have Special Counsel Joe Levesque, and he is also your the Assembly's direct attorney on this matter, and a resource concerning ex parte contact and disclosures. My understanding from Mr. Levesque is that when adjudicatory bodies sit, including an assembly or a city council sitting as an adjudicatory body, the first round of one of the first orders of business would be for the chair or the presiding officer of that body to take the ex parte contact information and the conflict information from all the members sitting on that body.
Fair enough. Is there any initial judgment? I'm probably one of the few up here, maybe Mr. Hall, that was actually here. I'm not sure, Mr. Flynn, if you were here when the matters, some of them were actually approved. Has that been discussed amongst that we don't have a biased opinion because of our earlier actions and debates?
Ms. Dombosky, do you want to address that?
And I don't want to get too deep into the case necessarily, but I want to know how far back I should go for that ex parte measure.
I don't think
I think
that weighs on this. Our action has been remanded to us to reevaluate, and so our previous action is essentially vacated by the Superior Court action.
Well, the reason I say it, and Ms. Dombosky was there, our previous lawyer prior to Mr. Levesque taking over, I asked that specific question, is how far back should I go with some of the discussions? And one of her things was, well, don't go back and read them again. That was for certain. But the point on that is I'd like some clarity on our initial role. It doesn't have to be now, but if in between now and our next meeting, if we have sort of a ruling that applies to all of us, then I'd be happier to gauge it that way. Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Dombosky, you have anything that you wanted to add?
Mr. Chair, I just didn't know how, if you were going to remind the body, but if you'd like, I can go ahead. A couple things. For this particular matter, the subcommittee has discussed this at great length, and we have gone to great pains to remind ourselves and everyone around us this is not a topic that we can discuss amongst each other. We can talk process. We cannot talk the substantive issue. We cannot review our notes. We cannot go back. But my understanding from counsel is there's no expectation from the court that we'll forget that we were part of something before. But if there's questions about disclosures, it is requested, as we stated in our subcommittee report, that anybody who's received a campaign contribution, if you have a personal relationship, anything with any of the appellates that are listed in the public documents that you've received from the clerk, just look at those names, the list. If you know anything about them or have any sort of relationship, let Ms. Tucker know what that relationship is, whether they're a campaign contributor, whether they're your next door neighbor, whether you go shopping every Saturday with them. That's the type of stuff Ms. Tucker needs to know so she can evaluate what type of disclosure needs to happen and then what type of consideration the body, she can predict what questions might come up maybe. But that's why we're asking that everybody does this early. It's because the parties need to be aware also in the record of the people that are listening to this case, what their background is, and who maybe might be excluded. So that's why we ask that everybody over the next week review those relationships and talk with Ms. Tucker specifically, because all your disclosures will potentially become a part of a court record. So it's very important that they're very thorough, and the chair has an opportunity to review them and rule on them, and then the body can consider it too. So, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Dombosky. I'm going to hand the gavel to Mr. Traney for a minute. If you would, Mr. Traney.
Mr. Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My disclosure is a pretty simple one. I played t-ball with James Nye. He's one of the appellants in this case, and I also went to high school together. And a couple years ago, he did mention this matter to me. We did not have a substantive discussion on it but it was an ex parte conversation regarding this specific matter. So with that, I throw myself at your mercy, Mr. Chair.
With your disclosure stated, I don't see that you've got a conflict of interest. You're direct to participate in this, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Starr.
Well, that knowledge base, does that provide a different perspective to the upcoming case because you're a little bit more aware than perhaps a new member, in your opinion? Are you more versed than that, and could you be objective?
Mr. Starr, as I said, we did not have a substantive conversation on it. My knowledge of the case is purely what my memory is from when we considered this matter years hence, and Mr. Nye did not offer any perspective that I recall that would affect my judgment on this.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Ms. Domboski?
Mr. Chair, my question is, though you may have had an ex parte discussion about this matter before you knew it was an issue that would be back before us, now that you know that, do you think you could put the public interest first and act in the best interest of the public?
I do. Thank you for the question.
Okay. Thank you. I have no objection.
Okay. Is there any objection to Mr. Trainey's ruling? Seeing, hearing none, we are now done with special orders. You guys all have your homework assignments. That brings us to audience participation. If there's anybody who wishes to speak to us on a matter that was not on the agenda, that now is your time. Seeing and hearing no one.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Is there objection? Seeing and hearing none. We are adjourned.
Good evening.